My name is Cristina Penn, 34 years old. The automatic doors of Children's Hospital parted like a wound, and I ran through them with my scrub top still on and my purse somewhere out in the car, abandoned. The instant my phone said the words no mother should ever hear. Fluorescent light smeared into white ribbons as I sprinted down the corridor, shoes squeaking, lungs burning, signs to the pediatric burn unit stacking like accusations I couldn't outrun. A security guard called for me to slow down, but the air felt too thick to breathe, and the thought of my daughter lying alone in a room with beeping machines made obedience impossible. The nurse at the burn unit desk stood the second she saw me coming. She couldn't have been older than 25. Her brown eyes were kind and already apologizing. Mrs. Penn, I'm Jenny. Dr. Navarro is with your daughter now. She's stable. Stable. How could a word be both mercy and threat? My daughter, Melody, someone called. Room 314. She's sedated for pain, but you can see her. I pushed through the door, and the world narrowed to a bed too big and a girl too small. White gauze wrapped both Melody's hands like oversized mittens, IV lines tethered to machines that translated pain into numbers and sound. Her face was puffy from crying. Tear tracks had dried shiny on her cheeks. "Oh, baby," I said, my voice breaking as I sank into the chair and cradled one bandaged hand with two of mine. Her eyelashes fluttered at the sound of me. Hazel eyes, my eyes, swam up through the medication fog, fear rising like a drowned thing that hadn't learned how to stay under. "Mama," she whispered, the word fragile as a bird's hollow bone. "I'm here, sweet pea. Mama's here. You're safe." I kept my voice soft for her while something in me sharpened into a blade for everyone else. My hands hurt so bad. "I know, the doctors are giving you medicine. It'll get better, I promise." I brushed hair from her forehead, the tiny gestures I'd done since she was born suddenly feeling like vows. She started crying again, not loud, just that miserable break sob of a child who has learned pain comes in waves and the ocean doesn't care. "Mama, I need to tell you something. Something bad." "You can tell me anything." I looked up as the door hissed and a man stepped in. 30s, wire-rimmed glasses, seriousness anchored in his eyes. "I'm Dr. Navarro," he said gently. "Mrs. Penn, Melody has second and third-degree burns to both palms. The pattern is consistent with prolonged contact with a heating element." Pattern. Prolonged. Words that mean someone held my little girl and didn't let go. "Accident?" I asked, already knowing I was pleading with a fact that had no interest in mercy. He glanced at the tablet he carried, then back at me. "These aren't consistent with accidental contact. We've notified police and Child Protective Services." Jenny hovered with a cup of water I couldn't drink. "Her stepmother brought her in," she added, voice careful, the way people talk around explosives. "Darlene said Melody was trying to cook, and—" Melody flinched. Her breath hitched. I bent close until my forehead touched hers. "You can tell me," I whispered. "It isn't your fault." "She said I'm a thief," Melody breathed. "She said thieves get punished. I was hungry, and there was bread, and she—" Her eyes squeezed shut. "She held my hands on the stove, Mama. She counted to 7. The world went strangely quiet, like the moment before a storm when every leaf holds its breath. 7. I imagined each number, imagined the force it takes to keep a child's hands pinned while a burner brands innocence. My vision swam. I gripped the bed rail until the cool metal bit my palm. "Why would she call you a thief?" I took 2 pieces of bread. Shame edged the words, and I hated the way it lived in her mouth. "She didn't give me breakfast again. Trevor left for work. She said I have to earn food by doing chores." Her lip trembled. "She says I eat too much. She says I'm getting fat like you." My stomach turned. I had heard that phrase before. Portion control. Tidy words that sound like virtue when spoken in a judge's courtroom or a school conference room. I had written down smaller signs. Monday exhaustion, Sunday evening ravenousness, the way Melody's voice went quiet after weekends. Bethany, my sister, had pressed a notebook into my hands. Write everything. Mrs. Peaton, her teacher, had lifted her chin and said, "I believe you." And my mother, Judith, had shown up every Sunday with lasagna and cookies and a look that said, "Fight like hell." All the red flags had been waving, and I had called Trevor, and he had parroted someone else's language, structure, stability, boundaries, as if repetition could make a lie true. The door opened again. A woman in her 50s with short gray hair and steady presence stepped in, badge at her hip, composure that suggested she'd seen too much and still chosen to care. Mrs. Penn, I'm Detective Shirley Drummond, Crimes Against Children Unit. I need to ask a few questions. You can stay with Melody. Melody's fingers shifted inside the gauze. I squeezed gently. She told the detective what she had told me, and then more. The way Darlene turned the knob and watched blue flame gather, the way she wrapped manicured fingers around little wrists, the way she counted in that sing-song voice you use when you tie a bow for a doll. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, all the way to 7. The way she said, in my country, thieves get marked so everyone knows what they are. The way she shoved Melody's hands into ice and made her practice an accident story. Detective Drummond wrote, yes, but she was also listening with her eyes, catching every tremor, circling every word that might anchor a timeline. Do they have security cameras at the house? She asked without looking up. Yes, I said. Trevor installed them after a break-in last year. Everywhere, even the kitchen. I felt the faintest flare of hope, terrifying because hope means there's still something to lose. Evidence. The word felt like a handhold on a cliff. Good, the detective said. We'll secure the footage immediately. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. Darlene said there was an accident on my way to hospital. Accident. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then fell useless. There were things text could not carry without breaking. Mrs. Penn, Drummond said, softening her tone, we're going to your ex-husband's house now. You don't need to come. I'm going. The decision stood up inside me fully formed. I needed to see Trevor's face when the truth played in his kitchen, needed to be present when the lie he chose tried to survive the light. This could be emotionally volatile, she cautioned. It might be better to stay with Melody. Right then, the door flew open and my mother arrived, breathless, her lipstick smeared from crying. She took one look at the bandages and pressed a hand to her mouth. Dear God, she did it. That woman did this. She turned to me. I'll stay. Go. Bring back what you need to end this. I kissed Melody's hair, tasted salt. I'll be right back, sweet pea. Grandma's here. Detective Drummond is going to make sure no one ever touches you again. Do you hear me? Her eyes found mine and held fast like a hand holding a dock line in choppy water. She nodded, small and fierce. In the hallway, the smell of antiseptic leaned into another smell, burned protein, edged and unforgettable. The detective's shoes made no sound on the polished floor. Mine squeaked, like they didn't know how to be quiet. Jenny slipped us a look that said she'd chosen sides. Dr. Navarro gave a small, grave nod, as if to say, I will keep the body safe while you go protect the life around it. At the nurse's station, a television ran the hospital's closed-circuit feed, a silent loop of entrances and exits. People came in with their private disasters and left with new versions of themselves. I thought of the courtroom months ago, the judge's monotone about two-parent households, the conservative blue dress that wasn't the same person Darlene was on social media 3 weeks earlier. I thought of how far some people will go to perform goodness for institutions. I thought of the word mark and felt my hands curl. The elevator took forever. The detective made a quick call, voice clipped and calm. Unit to Maple Grove, possible evidence destruction risk. Suspect is 28, brunette, approximately 5'6". Kitchen cam likely captured incident around 11:43 a.m. I closed my eyes and saw a gas flame bloom. In my mind, the kitchen was already a crime scene, but also a stage. Darlene liked audiences. She'd count it out loud. When the elevator doors finally opened onto the lobby, the late afternoon sun cut hard through glass, a bright, accusing blade. Parents with coffee cups and crumpled jackets watched us pass. Somewhere on the 4th floor, my child slept under medicine while nerves decided what signals they would carry in the years to come. I had the sudden, absurd thought that I should have brought chapstick, because I'd bite my lip bloody if I didn't give my mouth somewhere else to go. Outside, the heat laid flat on the asphalt. The detective's unmarked sedan waited, plain as resolve. As I reached for the passenger door, my phone vibrated again. Another text from Trevor, then a call. I let it go to voicemail. Whatever his words were now, they were 7 seconds too late to be anything but debris. I slid into the seat. Detective Drummond turned the key. The engine came alive with a low-throated promise. For a heartbeat, we just sat there while the hospital hummed behind us, and the air conditioner coughed itself into motion. "Christina," she said, saying my name like she was staking a claim to my attention. "I need you steady. We're going to gather the truth. Let it do the cutting for you." I nodded. I thought of the camera above the refrigerator, the cloud backups Trevor bragged about when he installed them. The password choices men make when they want to remember something without writing it down. I thought of how lies curdle under fluorescent light, and how performance always breaks under a lens that doesn't blink. The detective flipped the siren on, brief and surgical, enough to turn heads without making a scene, and pulled into traffic. The hospital shrank in the mirror. The road unspooled like a fuse. We drove toward the house with the green shutters and the perfect lawn, toward a living room where denial would meet evidence in high definition, toward a kitchen where a story had already been told in fire. I laid my palm against the cool window and felt the car hum under my skin like a vow I'd made in a voice that didn't shake. No one would ever hurt my daughter again. Not in my house, not in his, not anywhere I could put my body between a hand and a flame. The siren chirped once more, and we turned left toward Maple Grove. The memory starts in oak and brass. Judge Harrison's courtroom smelled like lemon polish and fear disguised as civility. I remember the shine of Trevor's shoes, the calm mask on Darlene's face, the pen tapping in my hand as the judge's monotone reorganized my daughter's life. "Joint custody is awarded," he read, "with the child spending alternating weekends with Mr. Penn and his new spouse. The court finds that a two-parent household provides stability and structure that benefits the minor child." Structure, stability. Words people loved to say when they wanted to sound noble while doing harm. Trevor sat across the aisle, his arm looped proudly around Darlene's shoulders. She wore that conservative blue dress, the one her lawyer told her made her look maternal. Not the sequined crop top she'd been posting online weeks earlier, posing with cocktails and captions like "living my best life." Amazing what a good lawyer and a few staged photographs can do to a reputation. I had stood then, my voice cracking despite my lawyer's warning squeeze on my wrist. "Your Honor, I have concerns about Miss Hutchkins having unsupervised access to my daughter." "Your concerns are noted but unsubstantiated," the judge replied, tone colder than the air conditioning. "Miss Hutchkins has provided excellent character references and has completed a parenting preparation course. A weekend course. 48 hours of PowerPoint slides about emotional growth, and suddenly she got to play mother to my daughter every other weekend." When we stepped outside that day, the courthouse steps seemed higher than they had that morning. Darlene smiled at me as she passed. Perfect lipstick. No warmth. "We'll take good care of her," she said. I remember the emphasis on we. The first exchange happened in my driveway 2 weeks later. Melody clutched her pink butterfly suitcase, the one her grandmother Judith had given her for grandma sleepovers, not custody swaps. I knelt to zip her jacket. "You're going to have fun with Daddy and Darlene, remember?" "Why can't I just stay with you?" I smoothed her hair, pretending steadiness I didn't feel. "Because the judge says you need to spend time with Daddy too, but I'll be right here when you come back Sunday night." Trevor's truck door opened, and Darlene stepped out, phone in hand, nails clicking against the case. "Come on, Melody, we've got big plans, art projects, a movie night, pancakes." It sounded rehearsed. She looked like she was auditioning for the perfect stepmom. That first weekend, Melody came home quiet but unharmed. When I asked how it went, she shrugged. "Darlene made me call her mom. I told her you're my mom, and she said I could have two." I smiled tight. "You don't have to call her that if you don't want to, sweet pea. She gets mad when I don't." Red flag number 1. I wrote it in the notebook Bethany gave me. Write everything down. By the 4th weekend, Melody came home different. She headed straight to the kitchen, eating whatever I put in front of her like she hadn't seen food in days. One Sunday, she ate 3 peanut butter sandwiches in a row, barely chewing. "Slow down, baby. You'll get a tummy ache." "I'm just really hungry, Mama." "Didn't you eat dinner at Daddy's?" "Darlene says I eat too much. She gives me a small plate and says that's all I get." I called Trevor that night. "She's being dramatic," he said. "Darlene's just teaching her portion control. Kids need boundaries." "She's 8 years old, Trevor. She's growing. She needs food, not boundaries." "Don't tell me how to parent in my own house. You're just jealous because I've moved on." Moved on. As if 13 years of marriage and a daughter could be outgrown like last season's shirt. Weeks passed. Melody's teacher called next. Mrs. Peaton, a veteran of 30 years, her voice calm but clipped. "Grace, I'm concerned. Melody's falling asleep in class on Mondays, and she's anxious after weekends. In my experience, that means something's wrong at home. She spends weekends with her father and stepmother, I said. She comes back exhausted and hungry. I'll document it, she promised. If the court ever reviews custody, that might help. I thanked her, but after we hung up, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, just gripping the steering wheel, because the sound of someone believing me made me want to cry. My mother came every Sunday night, casserole dish in hand. That child needs feeding up, she'd mutter, watching Melody devour her lasagna. Skin and bones. Mom, I think it's worse than neglect, I said once. I think she's cruel. Judith looked up from slicing bread. Then fight, Cristina. Fight like hell. I tried. I documented every missed meal, every bruise that didn't make sense, every comment Melody repeated from Darlene. Thieves get punished. New wives are more important than old daughters. I stored them like seeds of a case I prayed I'd never have to plant. Then the day came, Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. The dental clock above my patient chair blinked, second hand twitching. Mr. Jacobson, retired mailman, smiled his gummy smile. You work too hard, Doc, he said. Just keeping busy, I replied, already half distracted by thoughts of pickup time, Melody's favorite snack, the smell of peanut butter and apples waiting at home. Then Paula, our receptionist, burst in, white as printer paper, hands trembling around the cordless phone. Cristina, it's Children's Hospital. You need to take this. Now. I ripped off my gloves, dropped them to the floor. Hello? A woman's voice, professional but urgent. Mrs. Penn, this is Nurse Davidson at Children's Hospital. Your daughter has been admitted with severe burns. You need to come immediately. What burns? Where is she? Pediatric burn unit, 4th floor. The doctor will explain when you arrive. I don't remember the drive. 1 minute I was in the dental parking lot. The next I was sprinting past reception, my shoes squealing across tile. Now, in Detective Drummond's car, the asphalt hums under us like a countdown. I press my hands together, feeling phantom heat through my palms. Outside, the city leans toward evening, the long stretch of gold that happens before everything hardens into shadow. She'll try to destroy the cameras, I say. The detective glances at me. People do desperate things when they realize they've lost control. She's always had control, I whisper. Even in court, she knew exactly what to say to sound safe. She won't sound safe tonight. The GPS voice announces Maple Grove Drive, and the detective slows. You sure you're ready to see this? No, I answer, but I need to. The neighborhood looks like an advertisement for good decisions. Identical houses, perfect lawns, a symmetry that hides rot. Trevor's green shutters are open. Darlene's white Mercedes gleams in the driveway beside his truck. Porch lights flicker on, synchronized like obedience. I feel the detective's hand hover near the gear shift. 2 patrol officers are already inside, she says. They say she's calm. He's confused. Calm and confused. The roles they've rehearsed for years. I step out before the car even stops moving. The air smells like fresh-cut grass and something faintly chemical, the detergent Darlene uses that gives me migraines. A curtain shifts in the house next door. Someone is watching. Suburbia loves a scandal as long as it stays behind other people's windows. We reach the door, no knocking. The detective's badge flashes once, and the world narrows to Trevor's living room. He stands there in his warehouse uniform, dirt still on his sleeves, face flickering between anger and disbelief. Cristina, what are you doing here? Where's Melody? She's in the hospital burn unit, I say evenly. 3rd-degree burns on both hands. He blinks, frowns. Darlene said it was an accident. An accident? She held her hands on a stove, Trevor. That's insane. Exactly, I whisper. Darlene sits on the couch, crossing her legs with the composure of a woman hosting a brunch. Her yoga pants match the throw pillows. The child is clumsy. She lied to get attention. She's 8 years old. She's manipulative. She plays people. She's starving, I snap. Darlene rolls her eyes. She exaggerates. That's what children do. Detective Drummond steps forward. Mrs. Hutchkins, we'll need access to your home's security system. Trevor frowns. Why? Because your kitchen camera recorded everything. Darlene's perfect posture falters. It's unnecessary. She already admitted she touched the stove herself. Mr. Penn, the detective says, we need your login credentials. He hesitates, pulling out his phone. The password's her birthday, 0817. Of course it is. Melody's birthday, a combination that's both sentimental and cruel. Darlene stands abruptly. This is harassment. I'm calling my lawyer. Sit down, Drummond orders. No one leaves until we review the footage. Officer Benson, standing by the door, nods, one hand near his radio. Trevor unlocks the app, fingers trembling. The kitchen cam's above the fridge. It records 24/7. The detective taps through the menu, finds the timestamp, 11:43 a.m. Everyone, watch closely, she says. Darlene's voice wobbles for the first time. You can't just... Yes, we can, Drummond says. The cloud doesn't lie. The screen glows pale blue in the dim living room, and we see my daughter walk into the kitchen, tiptoes reaching for 2 slices of bread. Just bread. Behind her, Darlene enters, fast, angry, a shadow blooming into color. The audio clicks on. You little thief, she says, voice sharp. Stealing food in my house? Melody's voice is tiny. I was hungry. You didn't give me breakfast. Liars don't deserve food. You want to steal from me? You know what happens to thieves where I come from? The detective mutters, pause. She notes the exact time, 11:43:47. Keep rolling. We watch Darlene drag her toward the stove, turn the burner on high. Blue fire leaps. And everything I thought I knew about cruelty turns out to be smaller than reality. Trevor's face drains. The recording continues, Darlene counting aloud, sweet and slow. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. The scream that follows isn't sound, it's a wound in the air. Trevor collapses to his knees. The detective exhales through her nose, steady hands moving to save the footage to the cloud, then to her tablet. That's enough, she says quietly. We've seen what we need to see. But I can't stop watching. Because in that final frame, Melody's hands fall to her chest, small fists of ruined innocence, and Darlene walks away like she's done something routine. My body remembers how to breathe only when the detective says, Darlene Hutchkins, you're under arrest for felony child abuse, assault of a minor, and torture. Darlene bolts for the back door. Officer Benson intercepts her, grabbing her wrist. Ma'am, stop resisting. Trevor looks up, shaking. 7 seconds, he whispers. She counted 7. Trevor, Darlene tries, but her voice cracks. He stares at her like he's seeing a stranger. She's a baby. My baby. Your brat needed discipline. The words echo, hollow and poisonous, and for the first time, Trevor's eyes harden. I was a father, he says quietly, and you made me forget that mattered. Detective Drummond's voice cuts clean. Cuff her. Metal clicks, final and perfect. And outside, the first siren wails. The living room seemed to exhale after the handcuffs clicked. The air itself changed weight. For a second, all I could hear was Trevor's breathing, shallow, broken, as if he were trying to remember how to do something his body no longer believed in. Darlene's wrists gleamed red where the cuffs bit skin. She twisted against Officer Benson's hold, but her voice was eerily calm. You're making a mistake, she said. That footage was edited. She's manipulating you. Detective Drummond didn't even look up from her tablet. The footage was streamed directly to your own cloud system, Mrs. Hutchkins. You'll have a hard time editing live data. She tapped the screen once. It's all backed up. Twice. Trevor! Darlene's voice cracked now, desperate. Tell them this isn't what it looks like. She's always been jealous of us. She'll do anything to destroy me. Trevor stayed on his knees, staring at the rug. The fibers beneath him were soaked where his tears had fallen. When he finally looked up, his eyes were dull with disbelief. I saw you, he whispered. I saw everything. Darlene flinched as if struck. You think I wanted to hurt her? She stole from me. You told me she needed discipline. Your words, not mine. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. The detective nodded to Officer Benson. Take her outside. I'll finish processing in here. The officer led Darlene toward the front door. She twisted back at me once, eyes burning with something that might have been hatred, or maybe fear of being small. You think you've won? She hissed. You'll lose everything anyway. You always do. Her words rolled off me like smoke, but still, they left an aftertaste. When the door shut behind her, the sound was soft, final. Trevor was still trembling. I'd seen him cry only once before, in the delivery room, when Melody's first cry filled the air. Now he was sobbing into his hands, the same hands that had signed court papers giving Darlene half our weekends. You chose her, I said quietly. He didn't argue, just nodded, a slow, ruined motion. I thought she'd make us look normal again. Normal? My voice rose before I could stop it. She starved our child, Trevor. She burned her. He crumpled further, elbows on knees, voice dissolving into his palms. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. The detective was packing up her equipment, efficient and silent. She avoided our eyes, giving grief its privacy. Mr. Penn, she said finally, you'll need to come to the station for a statement tonight. Mrs. Penn, I suggest you head back to the hospital. I'm not leaving without a copy of that footage. She nodded. Already transferred. Multiple drives. It's safe. Trevor looked up then, hollow-eyed. Can I see Melody? Not tonight, I said. The words came out steadier than I felt. You'll see her when a court says it's safe. He looked like he wanted to argue, but then the fight just left him. He stared at the family photo hanging on the wall, the one with Darlene smiling like she'd earned something, Melody standing stiff between them, eyes uncertain. I thought I was giving her stability, he whispered. You gave her trauma with better furniture. Detective Drummond closed her case file and slipped it under her arm. We'll escort her to the car, she said. You can come if you want to watch. I did. Outside, the neighborhood had gathered in soft clusters of curiosity. Porch lights glowed, blinds shifted. The air buzzed with whispered theories. Did you hear? The Penn girl, the stepmother, the stove. Darlene stood by the patrol car, wrists cuffed, chin high, as though she still had an audience to impress. When she spotted me, her lip curled. This isn't over, she said. You're right, I answered. It's barely begun. Officer Benson opened the back door. The blue and red lights strobed across her face, making her look less human, more creature. For the first time, I saw the thin crack in her confidence, the exact second when she understood she'd lost control forever. As they guided her into the car, she started shouting again, wild and pointless. He'll still love me. You'll see. He'll come crawling back. Trevor, standing in the doorway, didn't move, didn't even flinch. He looked like a statue someone had forgotten to finish. When the car pulled away, Detective Drummond turned to him. We'll contact you tomorrow. Don't leave town. You'll need to surrender any remaining custody documents immediately. He nodded numbly. I looked around the pristine yard, manicured hedges, perfect symmetry, that fake perfection we'd both once thought meant happiness. It looked exactly the same, and I hated it for that. The detective's voice cut through my thoughts. Mrs. Penn, let's get you back to your daughter. Wait, Trevor called after me. Cristina. I stopped but didn't turn. Tell her I'm sorry, he said. Please. I closed my eyes. You tell her yourself someday, if she wants to hear it. We left him there on the porch, a man watching the wreckage of his own choices sink quietly into the manicured dark. The drive back to the hospital was silent for several miles. The detective's face was unreadable, but her knuckles were white on the steering wheel. You know, she said finally, I have worked this unit 15 years, and I still can't get used to what people justify in the name of family. Family doesn't justify cruelty, I said. It just hides it better. She nodded once. You did good tonight. You stayed in control. That helps your case, and it helps your daughter. But control felt like a lie. My hands were shaking in my lap, every nerve wired to rage I had no outlet for. At a red light, the detective's phone chimed. She checked the message, then exhaled through her nose. We've secured the footage from all cameras. She tried to delete the files remotely just before arrest. The cloud backup saved them. She tried to erase the evidence? People like her always do. They think they can control the narrative right up to the end. I stared out the window at the city sliding past. Neon reflections bleeding on glass. People laughing in restaurants, life continuing, uncaring. Somewhere in the hospital, my daughter was dreaming through painkillers, her tiny fingers twitching like they remembered fire. The detective pulled into the hospital lot, idled for a moment, then looked at me. She's not going to walk away from this, Cristina. Not with the footage, not with the statement. You've got her. I nodded, but victory tasted like ash. Inside, the corridors hummed low and steady. The antiseptic smell was stronger now, sharper. Jenny at the front desk straightened when she saw me, eyes wide with silent question. They have her, I said simply. Relief washed over her face. Good. When I stepped into Melody's room, the lights were dim. My mother had pulled the chair close to the bed, her hand resting lightly on Melody's arm. She looked up as I entered, her eyes red-rimmed. Did you see her? Yes, I said. And she'll never touch Melody again. My mother's lip trembled. She squeezed my hand once and stood. I'll get coffee. I sat down beside the bed. Melody stirred, eyes blinking open. Mama? I'm here, sweet pea. Is she gone? She's gone, I whispered. And the police have everything they need. Melody's eyes fluttered shut again. My hands still feel hot sometimes. I brushed hair from her face. That's just your body remembering. It'll forget, little by little. Outside, rain began tapping against the window. Soft at first, then harder. A sound like rinsing, like something being washed clean. The detective came to the doorway, nodded at me once, then disappeared down the hall. Her footsteps faded into the rhythm of the rain. I stayed there for hours, counting each slow rise of Melody's chest, matching my breath to hers, until the room fell into the quiet rhythm of survival. When dawn finally bled gray into the blinds, I knew everything had changed. The footage, the arrest, the court that would follow, it was only the beginning. But for now, my daughter was alive. Her hands, though bandaged, would heal. And the camera, the silent witness to everything, had done what I couldn't. It never blinked. 6 weeks later, the hospital smell had faded from our clothes, but not from memory. The scent clung to us like a ghost. Antiseptic and burned metal, reminders that healing was never just a process, it was work. Every morning, Melody and I drove to Dr. Chen's physical therapy office, sunlight striping across the dashboard as she hummed softly beside me, her bandaged fingers resting in her lap. "Ready, sweet pea?" I'd ask. She always nodded. "I can do it this time, Mama. I won't cry." And every time, she kept that promise a little longer. Inside the bright therapy room, Melody sat on the edge of the table, her legs swinging, while Dr. Chen stretched each finger gently. "Excellent progress," he said. "Your flexibility improves every session." "Will I be able to write again before 4th grade?" she asked, wincing, but still brave. Dr. Chen smiled. "Absolutely. You're healing beautifully." I watched, silent, proud, and aching. Her hands, once red and raw, were now soft pink, the grafts smooth and strong. They trembled sometimes, especially when she tried to close them into fists, but she didn't hide them anymore. When she'd finished her exercises, I helped her tie her shoes. The laces were frayed at the ends, and she insisted on doing the final bow herself. "Got it," she said, grinning. I smiled back, blinking away tears. "You sure did." The legal proceedings had moved faster than I expected. The footage had spoken for itself. Darlene's lawyer had tried to bargain for leniency, claiming cultural discipline and temporary mental instability. But the prosecutor wouldn't budge. The evidence was too clear, too cruel. She pled guilty to avoid trial, sparing Melody from reliving it all on the witness stand. 8 years in state prison, no parole, deportation after serving her sentence. The day of sentencing, Detective Drummond found me outside the courthouse. "It's over," she said. "She won't hurt anyone else." I thought I'd feel triumph. Instead, I felt nothing but exhaustion. Darlene was gone, but she'd left her fingerprints on every part of our lives. Trevor's case was separate. Neglect, endangerment, failure to protect. He pled guilty. 2 years probation, parenting classes, therapy. The judge stripped him of custody and visitation until a future review. He sent letters every week. I kept them sealed in a drawer. Melody knew they existed, and one day, if she asked, I'd hand them over. But not yet. One night over dinner, she asked me, "Do you think Daddy knew?" I set my fork down. I think he chose not to see what was right in front of him. "That's bad too," she said softly. "Yes," I said. "Sometimes pretending not to know is the same as doing the thing yourself." She nodded slowly, eyes wiser than any 8-year-old's should be. My family became our fortress. My mother, Judith, came over 3 nights a week with enough food to feed an army. "Nobody's going hungry in this house again," she'd declare, stacking containers labeled casserole, soup, love. My brother Samuel installed a new security system, not because we needed it, but because Melody slept easier with the blinking red light near her door. "Anyone tries to hurt my niece again," he said, "they'll have to go through me." Bethany found a trauma therapist, Dr. Winters. The first session, Melody had refused to talk. The second, she whispered. The third, she laughed. A small laugh, but real. Dr. Winters helped me too. "Trauma isn't linear," she told me. "Some days you'll feel fine. Then something as simple as a smell or a phrase will drag you back. Be gentle with both of you." It was true. Some mornings, a burnt smell from the toaster could turn my stomach. Sometimes Melody would hide food again. Granola bars tucked under her pillow, crackers hidden in drawers. Dr. Winters said it was normal. Her body remembers hunger. You can't logic that away. So I stopped telling her not to hoard. Instead, I made her a snack basket labeled "Always Yours." It stayed by her bed. Within weeks, she didn't use it anymore, but she liked knowing it was there. One afternoon, Mrs. Peaton came by the house with a card signed by the whole class and a basket of books. "I should have seen it sooner," she said, tears glinting. 30 years of teaching, and I missed it. "You didn't miss it," I told her. "You spoke up when it mattered." Still, she shook her head. I'll never ignore my instincts again. Later that evening, Melody showed me a story she'd written, crayon words across lined paper, shaky but legible. A girl who walks through fire and comes out glowing. I read it 3 times before I realized she was writing about herself. "Can I hang it on the fridge?" I asked. She grinned. "Only if you spell check it first." The house that once echoed with fear now hummed with life again. Pots clanging, TV laughter, the piano my mother bought when I was a child. Every normal day felt like a small miracle. But nights were harder. Sometimes Melody woke crying, her voice small. "Mama, it's hot again." I'd sit on the edge of her bed, smoothing her hair. "You're safe," I'd whisper. "It's just a dream." She'd cling to my arm, whispering back, "Promise?" "Promise." And I meant it every time. One night, as I tucked her in, she turned her palms up under the nightlight. The scars gleamed faintly, like silver rivers. "Dr. Winters says scars tell stories," she said. "Mine tell people I'm brave." "She's right," I said. "They tell the story of a girl who survived what should have broken her." She smiled. "Do you think they'll ever go away?" "Maybe a little," I said. "But even if they don't, that's okay. They're proof of what you overcame." She nodded and yawned, curling beneath her blanket. "Good night, Mama." "Good night, baby. I love you more than all the stars." "I love you more than pancakes," she whispered, drifting off. Outside her door, I paused. The house was quiet except for the hum of the new security system. For the first time in months, the quiet didn't scare me. I walked into my room, opened my dresser drawer, and pulled out Trevor's letters. There were 12 now. I stacked them neatly and tied them with a ribbon, then placed them in a box labeled, "When You're Ready." Maybe one day Melody would open them. Maybe she'd find something worth forgiving, or maybe she'd close the box again, untouched. Either way, the choice would be hers. A week later, Detective Drummond called. "Darlene's been moved to general population," she said. "The inmates found out what she did. Let's just say her time there won't be easy." I didn't feel relief, just a kind of empty quiet. Pain begetting pain never brought balance, only echoes. That Sunday, we went to Bethany's house for dinner. Melody played with her cousins in the yard. I stood by the porch with a cup of lemonade, watching her laugh, really laugh, for the first time in months. "She's getting stronger," Bethany said, coming up beside me. "So am I admitted. The sun dipped low, painting the grass gold. Melody held up her hands toward the light, watching her scars shimmer. "Look, Mama," she called. "They shine now." "They do," I said softly. "They always will." That night, after she fell asleep, I sat by the window and watched the stars scatter across the dark. I thought about every parent who ignored the small signs, every child who whispered the truth into silence. Maybe our story would help someone listen. Maybe one parent somewhere would see what I didn't see soon enough. Nobody should have to count 7 seconds while their child screams. But if our story could keep one more child from those 7 seconds, then every scar, every sleepless night would mean something. Melody stirred, murmuring in her sleep, a faint smile tugging at her lips. I whispered into the dark, "You're safe, my love, and you're free." Her small hand reached out instinctively, finding mine in the night. Even scarred, it was warm, alive, and strong. The hand of a survivor. And mine, the hand of a mother who finally learned that love isn't just holding on, it's never letting go.